Hey, welcome back to Donald Mowers Electrical Services. So I'm going to make a video about apprenticeship programs and how they're lacking and why I'm even making the video. So why am I making the videos? So let's just get this out of the way. I see a gap in the residential trade of, I don't want to say just knowledgeable electricians, but a maturity that I don't see. I see guys in their 30s that have discipline issues. I see guys in their early 30s that they have major gaps in their theory as well as their approach to problems. And the more I tell my story, the more rare I am starting to notice that it is. And so I'm going to tell my story. I entered this trade at 19 years old, and my father passed away in July, and I dropped out of college, and I went right into electrical school. I needed to decrease the burden off my mother, so I believed. It might not have been, it might have been, but in my eyes, that's what I needed to do. And going into the trade, I knew I needed a male role model in a way. I needed a mentor. And I guess I was looking for it from the start. And I wanted to be a master electrician. But I wanted to be taught by the smartest guy that I could find that would be willing to teach me. And I noticed in the trade that that's reserved usually for kin, like their son or family, and it's very difficult to get that type of training that I was looking for. But I still looked for it. So when I first got out, I went to CHI High School, CHI Technical School, and I dropped out of CHI too. I had a 98.5. I was doing good, but I wanted to get into the trade, and I was offered a position making peanuts. Okay, and I went into the position not necessarily for the money. I went into it for the skill of it. Okay, it was new construction. I wanted to get onto a construction site, and I did. And I did new construction for almost a year. All right, and it was stick framing, 2-day rough, 2-day finishes. Usually a mechanic and a helper, and I was new. And the mechanics on that job weren't nice. They weren't nice to me, but you know, I grinned and I bared it, and I learned. I learned quickly. I learned I was stupid. I learned I was egotistical. I learned I was obnoxious. I learned that I knew nothing of the real world. And I still remember when the first day I walked on that job, a mechanic came up to me and said, "This is the first day of the rest of your life. Welcome." And he wasn't nice about it. It was said in a nasty tone, and I had no idea what he was talking about. It wasn't until later on that I figured it out. And I was very grateful to get that job. Now that looking back on it, I got the job because of reasons I'm not going to discuss on YouTube. But I am grateful that the position was offered to me, even as a grunt helper. I was very grateful for it. Not at the time. It took me later on in life to figure out how fortunate I was. So I still didn't have a role model there though. So after I learned what I could learn, I left, and I started looking for other jobs. And I got a job with, needless to say, the guy was a partier. He owned the company. But the guys that he subbed out work to were, tough guys. And through my first job's experience, I could hang, okay? And then I learned everything I could from these tough guys, but none of the tough guys like were very successful. Like they were good electricians, and I'm not stating that they weren't, okay? One of them taught me how to fish. Um, Another one taught me how to run jobs. They taught me about a P&L sheet. They taught me how to become a subcontractor. They taught me how to work extra hours and where the money on the street was, so you say. But they weren't what I was looking for. And it wasn't until a little bit longer that I did find someone that was what I was looking for. Someone that was successful, raising a family, had a house, had his own business, had his own van, and met the criteria that I was looking for. And when I asked him to teach me, he said no. He told me to get away from him. And he eventually hired me, and he saw that I had something. He saw that I could work. He saw that I could make him money. So as long as I made him money, he would give me work. So I busted my butt to make him money so he would teach me the trade. And that was the trade-off there. For the first year, anytime I could work with him, I would work with him. And I would get paid peanuts, but he would show me how he was doing things. And he started showing me how to bid, showing me how to troubleshoot. This whole time, though, he was knocking the ego out of me. And you need that to happen in your apprenticeship. Like, the apprenticeship for me wasn't just learning the trade, but it was growing up and maturing as an adult. Because when I entered the trade, I was an adolescent asshole teenager. And my apprenticeship taught me how to be a functioning member of society, like a functioning adult, how to support myself, how to save money, how to budget myself, how to dress appropriately, how to put money away for savings. My apprenticeship program took me from a teenager, and at the end of it, I was an adult. I could buy a house, okay, and that maturity is something that is not being taught in the trade today. Like I remember after my third year in, or even like 2.5 years in, I wasn't allowed to turn the power off anymore. And I had to work, and it, like during the new construction, we weren't allowed to turn the power off. But I mean like troubleshooting, installation. After about 2.5 years in, I was no longer allowed to turn the power off. And I had to learn how to work on things hot. And there's a lot to be said about that. When you're getting the bejesus shocked out of you every day, day in, day out, you start thinking a lot more about what you're doing rather than turning the power off, working, turning it on, and all that. Like there's no room for error when you're working with power on. And that was huge in my training. But I state this because when we have helpers today, even guys like in their 30s, they are lacking fundamental aspects that should have been taught to them that was taught to me in my early 20s. And these guys are in their 30s and they don't have this. And it's a shame. So when I talk about when helpers come work for me, I can only teach them how I was taught. And it might have been rough. You know, I had tools thrown at me. I don't really know if you can throw tools at people anymore. I was cursed at. I was yelled at. But that roughness was what I needed. Because if not, I just would have bullshitted the people. And my first job, I tried, and I started realizing the ego and the cockiness and all that was beat out of me. And sometimes physically, like on these job sites, it can get physical. Like you turn the power on someone and you shock them, they're not going to be happy. So if you're entering into this trade, and you should know what you want out of this trade going into it. Okay, if you're wanting just a job, you're shortchanging yourself, because there are apprenticeship programs. Now I'm not talking about like a union apprenticeship program that's all documented. A non-union apprenticeship program is basically you going, putting your time in, and getting your journeyman's card, which is a journeyman's test. Okay, it's out there, and then taking your master's exam. Okay, there is a set criteria, just it's been abandoned in the residential field. And because it's been abandoned and guys don't care, like there's guys that are making like peanuts because they weren't showed the steps to success or to being a mechanic. Like I have guys calling themselves mechanics that can't troubleshoot. How can you call yourself a mechanic when you can't even troubleshoot? And then they're like, well, I'm a new construction mechanic. That's a rough one, dude. Like, I don't know. I understand that there's a lot of areas of this trade, but when I try to hire guys, the training is a major problem today. So if you're entering into this trade as a helper, you need to know what you want out of this trade before you get into it. Okay? And if you want to become a mechanic, then you need to know theory. And you need to know, you need to get underneath, like what I would suggest is to get underneath a mechanic and learn all you can from them, and start searching for the mechanic that's going to teach you the most. All right. That should always be in the back of your mind. No matter who you go work for, you're trying to better yourself every single day. And that includes putting the booze down. If you can't drink responsibly, you need to put this booze down. If you can't wake up early, you need to go to bed earlier. All right? The apprenticeship teaches you how to be an adult as much as it teaches you the electrical trade. Okay? Because what's the point of knowing the trade if you can't function as an adult when you're done? Some of these guys, they drink so much on the weekdays, they're unemployable. So what's the point of being in, like, any knowledge you have if you're going to get fired every 3 weeks? So I just wanted to put that out there. Hopefully it helps someone, because, we're at a state now that our trade needs some help. Like, our trade needs some guidance. And, hopefully some mechanics step up to this. It'd be nice to see. Thanks for watching. God bless. Have a good day.